Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rum and Cinema. Today, we're going to be talking about Asteroid City, Wes Anderson's newest film, which I probably still in theaters, or it's now rentable and buyable on digital. You can find us at YouTube.
It does seem like it's dropping out of theaters, which is a huge bummer to me.
Yeah.
I was like shocked.
Not as quick as The Flash.
Yikes.
Oh.
Yikes.
Covering movies that you won't be able to see because they went out of theaters within 2 weeks.
I thought the whole thing was
the
we're doing
hits.
like movies that you can stream. That's what we switched to. But now it's everything. You can find us on youtube.com/@rumandcinema or TikTok @rumandcinema. Nate and Jake are joining me as always. Nate, how are you?
I just finished the movie and I'm super pumped. I think I was the most bullish on this movie. I still love every time I see Wes Anderson come up. But this was much better than I expected, and I think it surprised you guys, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Very much so. I was talking to Nate before this, and I think it's my favorite Wes Anderson. Right now, it's my favorite Wes Anderson movie, like fresh off its second watch. But, Grand Budapest is still really good. Mr. Fox is still really good. It's in there.
I think it might hold up, though.
I think so, too. I agree.
It's one of the best. It's like, it really is, works. I think, like, we'll get into it. Let Jake talk first.
Jake, how are you?
Well, someone here has to be the voice of dissent.
Oh, no.
No, I actually, I messaged these two guys shortly after I saw the movie, and I said that I really didn't want to like this movie, but I really did. So I was definitely pleasantly surprised. Definitely keeps you thinking afterwards, although I don't know. There's still an element of that excessively very artsy film that just rubs me the wrong way.
Sure.
But that's not the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is that it's really good.
It's unclear if after enough watches it will make sense and not just be overly arty. But I think the distinction here is that, like, I think people would criticize Wes Anderson films for being overly arty in terms of the like
style
art,
over
like
substance.
the visual style
Yeah.
and the like dialogue, and not having anything to like back it up, which like I don't really agree with. Usually there's a lot of emotional arcs and fun characters, but this movie, that weird surreal part might also, like, I think it might be working with that. That's kind of what I was saying before. Like, I think the surrealist part I think goes really well with Wes Anderson's style and just makes them both better.
I think I'd agree with that. I think I think the visual direction of this movie was just peak for what it was trying to do. I don't want to just hop into what I dislike about it. I think it'll come up as we get there. But I think in broad strokes, I think my issue with how artsy this movie is that I think there's a lot of things that are very, very intentionally vague and up for interpretation to the point where it's like too much.
I felt that on the first watch, but not the second watch.
See, I'm curious to see what you what you have then as your reasons for like the meanings behind things.
You're not gonna like it.
Because
I know that already.
that's the thing. I bet you could get 10 different people to watch this movie to ruminate on the meaning, and you'd get 10 different meanings.
And I think that's the point, which is also
right, which I don't like.
It has to be good, but that doesn't mean it's bad either.
Yeah.
It depends on what they give you.
That I agree with, because then you're just stuck with, okay, well, how's the movie? Just at face value then, that's why I say I was pleasantly surprised. I really like it because I think the movie's killer.
Even if you dismiss all that, it's a really good comedy.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably still have to like the weird stuff to enjoy that some of the comedy, but if you do, it's some of the funniest shit I've seen in a long time.
It's like,
I can't imagine there's anyone listening to this that is not into weird shit. You know?
If you are, get out.
Yeah, weirdos only.
I think we also really like Taskmaster and like British deadpan humor, which it feels like is what Wes Anderson's kind of like approach is, like awkward funny and deadpan.
See, I feel like that's rude to Wes Anderson.
Hey, Taskmaster is hilarious. All right?
Taskmaster is hilarious, but I also wouldn't call. I think The bits on Taskmaster that flop the hardest are some of the intro bits where they just go for British deadpan humor too hard.
True.
And I'm like, but then that's what's funny about it is it's funny that it was a miss.
Yeah, right. You can't,
you know,
lose.
and then you're laughing because Alex was just completely flopped on his intro bit. Yeah.
Before we
it's like dry. It's like dry, but over the top at the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of the bits I think we're gonna go over in this, like the one we were just talking about, kids singing. Like it's not. It's dry because it's not inherently funny, but they go so over the top that it like really, it doesn't feel like British humor to me.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I do want to bring up that I think I speak for all of us in saying that we stand with the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild. It just feels weird doing like a movie podcast in the middle of two of the biggest strikes ever when like the movie companies that we give money to watch these movies are like saying they're going to dry out the writers until they have to move out of their apartments and their houses, which is like some of the most fucked up like direct capitalist language I've ever heard in my life. So
I can't believe they just came out and said that.
It's strange for me internally to like.
It's true, and they can get away with it.
Well, 100%. It's. I just want to bring that up. That like acknowledge that that's happening, and that obviously we stand with the labor boards on that side.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of podcasts that explicitly call out that they're not doing any segments they write ahead of time, and I feel like we were in the clear there.
Oh boy, are we?
Yeah. Well,
we don't prepare anything.
We're also kind of set because I know Nate does his part and hardly ever pays for a movie.
I was gonna say, and that's why I torrented this movie. But
so do your thing. However you feel, you can do your thing. But I live in LA, and when I drive past a picket line, I always honk a couple times just to make it feel better. I'm here with you.
You're doing your part.
Yeah, that's all I can literally do. But yeah, just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that going forward because part of me today was like, how do we like talk about Netflix and HBO Max and 20th Century Fox and not be like, they're also shitheads. Like they're run by shitheads, 100%. Like Bob Iger's a douchebag.
Fuck those people.
Yeah, like he made $27 million this year, and he's like, we think we should do less Marvel and Star Wars movies, which I agree with. But then he goes like, writers are asking for too much. It's like, go fuck yourself with a golden dildo, you cunt.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That he can pay for.
It's like a continuous struggle for a lot of things, because like Amazon is god awful company, but
God damn, I got a Vitamix for 50% off.
And like 2 days.
Shit, there is no. I watch this other podcast about wrestling. It's on Cultaholic on YouTube, and there's a guy in there called Matthew, and he always says there's no such thing as ethical consumption in capitalism. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm feeling that a bit more now, more than ever. So.
But is that just a justification to consume whatever you want?
I mean, it makes me feel better. But I think just acknowledging it is the literal least I can do. So I'll at least do that. But
that's what I've always strived for in life. It's like, am I an asshole? Yeah, but I'm self-aware.
Yeah, it's meta now. Like
so it's
I'm just performing my life as a commentary.
Makes me better than the other assholes.
All right. So as long as we're not as big of an asshole as Bob Iger, we'll be okay. And I think so far so good. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Writers, actors, we like what you do. Obviously, we made a goddamn podcast about it. So, but also believe in fairness for people that work and make things that we love. So, yeah. All right.
We are rooting for them.
100%. Thanks for indulging me in that. Let's talk about Asteroid City. Wes Anderson's newest movie. I think Wes Anderson's one of the few people that in movies that you say, oh, what kind of a movie is it? It's a Wes Anderson movie. You know what I mean? Like it's its own genre.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Yeah. And this movie definitely fit the bill in like a really nice way. One question I wanted to ask, what other Wes Anderson movies have you all seen? And if you don't remember all of them, fine. But like, is this your first or second one?
As far as I'm aware, I have only seen Grand Budapest.
Okay. I think that's a really good one to start with, personally. I love that one. So you've seen this one and Grand Budapest?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Nate, do you know how many you've seen?
I think I've seen all of them
Yeah.
except for The French Dispatch, which we discussed, his most recent movie, which we started but then didn't get around to finishing.
Yeah, that one's different.
Isle of Dogs is a favorite.
That was fun.
The Royal Tenenbaums is really old and weird. We rewatched that one recently.
You know, as I'm, it's not sorry to interrupt, but as I'm going through his list of movies here, kind of surprised at how low they seem to score on IMDb. It's not like they're scoring low, but
Sevens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all like sevens, and it's like
They're not for everyone.
I don't know that a single one of his is in the top 250. But yeah, not for everybody.
Though, so someone was pointing out today, I was actually watching a board game video podcast about how, not a podcast, but a YouTube, about, hey,
I know, I would love it.
but he was basically saying, like, the top 100 games on Board Game Geek, it's a mistake to just, like, go and say those are all the best ones, because those are, like, that's for a particular, like, crowd, and it's curated in a certain way. And he actually drew the analogy, like, the top 100 movies on IMDb are not actually, like, there's a lot of, I mean, we found when we did that game where we tried to describe the movie posters, there's a lot of shit in there.
Yeah.
Movies been going on for a long time. So it
Or
doesn't surprise me that
the
Wes
1-star
Anderson's on
reviews,
the top.
that we read as a
Yeah,
game.
a lot of people don't like things inexplicably,
Yeah.
I guess.
So yeah, the ratings make some sense, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this has always been, like, Wes Anderson's like the biggest niche director in the world. Like, his movies are very, very popular, but also, like, 90% of people probably do not like them.
Yeah. I think every time I recommend a Wes Anderson movie, I always ask, like, I was watching this movie and I was like, oh, I know a couple people that I think would like this. And the first thing I ask is, have you seen a Wes Anderson movie before? And if they say no, I tell them, all right, go watch one that you think you'll like and come back and then watch this one.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be a good first one for people. I think this would be a good, like, third or fourth, but it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best intro might be Grand Budapest. That feels like the most accessible.
Yeah, it's got broad appeal. Moonrise Kingdom is too.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
That one's really good.
It's got, you know, more emotion.
Bruce Willis,
to it, I
too,
guess.
Jake.
Oh, you gotta love Bruce Willis. Oh, yeah, that's how we get
Willis?
Jake in. The Bruce Willis.
The Bruce Willis. I don't think that What's-His-Face has been in one, though. Who's the guy? Gomez? What's his name? He was Gomez Adams in Wednesday. And he's in... he's the other one you really like.
He'll be next.
Luis
I mean,
Guzman.
Yes,
one
Luis
of the
Guzman.
most surprising things in Wes Anderson movies is how big the cast is.
Oh, my
So
God.
I'm sure Luis Guzman will be in there soon.
Yeah. This one was ridiculous. too.
Yeah, he seems to have quite a bit of pull on getting big names for any role.
Yeah. And they're usually
You know,
not,
like-
like, paying a lot of money. You know, I think I was seeing somewhere Edward Norton was saying he made, like, $4,200 from one of the movies. Because...
Wow.
And, like, Jason Schwartzman was talking about making this movie, and he was like, I had no idea what was going on. And, like, that's funny as, like, as we get to explaining the
Yeah,
movie. But, like...
That is great.
He was saying the way that Wes shoots it is it's like all like, obviously you don't shoot it chronologically. You shoot it what makes sense for actors you have on set and staging. And he's like, you just see your little part and you have no idea what the rest of it is. So like even from the main character, that's funny to see and hear.
Yeah, and then he saw the finished
thought-
product, and he's like,
I'm still not sure.
Am I in this?
yeah.
I was going to say, Jason Schwartzman, I thought you were going off how little they were paid. I thought Jason Schwartzman was just complaining because he's like, I only do Wes Anderson movies, and I get paid like $4,200 every 4 years.
Yeah, I don't know what movie Edward Norton was talking. It might have been this one because he's kind of in it. He was probably there for like 3 days of shooting. Maybe more. I don't know how that works. But yeah, so let's get to it. Couple of pieces of trivia. Steve Carell is in this movie. He plays a fun little motel owner. And Bill Murray was supposed to play that part, but got COVID. So they had to recast him. And I think Steve Carell crushed it. I don't know how
I
Bill
was going
Murray
to
would
say,
have
that's
been.
sad, but Steve Carell was great. That
was
would not
so
have been the
good.
same with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
The peppy energy would not have been as good.
And
Or Bill Murray would not have been as good. Just he would have been sarcastic.
What
Yeah.
was that line that was it an apology Or he's like, oh, that he was every time somebody would ask him something, and he'd be
Beg your
like,
pardon.
I understand.
I'm
Beg your
trying-
pardon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
beg
said
your
like
pardon.
3 things in succession.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's really good. And the vending machines were awesome. God, everything about this movie was fucking cool. Michael Cera was
madness.
originally cast for an unknown role, but he obviously didn't make it into the film. Don't know which role he was going for.
Probably the alien. I bet they
There's
could have
no way
saved
that
up.
Jeff Goldblum wasn't the first and only choice for the alien.
Well, you get Michael Cera, you can save $120 on that costume.
So the movie opens on a 4x3 black and white screen, a local TV station, and I was like, here we go, Wes. Here we go.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston is our narrator, and he intros about a new play called Asteroid City, which is made for a broadcast. Edward Norton is our writer who's making the play, and then he talks about the awful writing process and how like hard it is and all that stuff. That's cool. And then we see the behind the scenes, and we introduce the characters, which I thought was a really fun way to do it. Basically, they go through the whole start of a play, like a script for a screenplay, where they introduce the stage and what the stage looks like and who the characters are real quick in succession. And the characters like look at the camera, some of them do, as their names are being called, which I thought was a really fun way to introduce everybody. And then we get to a train, which brings us into the city, and then we kind of switch from black and white to color, Wizard of Oz style, and we go with we're in the play now. Like, we're living in the play that's being played out. And this back and forth storytelling I thought was really cool and really well done, because it's visually so striking, the differences, and the tones are different, and the characters are playing different characters, like in the movie and out of the movie. That was really cool. And like, yeah, they did a really good job with that.
My favorite part when the first time we jump out and they're just like having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's great.
Loved it. Yeah, it was really able to add nice humor and like insight and like another layer of thoughtfulness to this movie. I think if it was just one or just the other, it wouldn't have been as good, obviously, but putting them together like that was really cool. I read somewhere that the quarantine part was kind of added late because they were actually in a quarantine with COVID. And that was like a kind of add-on, but I don't know if that's verified or not. So, but yeah, the train was super cool too.
That's a good point. It's a little late. I think we've gotten over it, but when they re-quarantine, that does really capture the emotion. That was a good laugh.
That was really fun. I watched a video my wife sent me about the train, the person who made the train, the miniature. It was sick. It's awesome. Like all the detail they put into these miniatures and they build and the set. And so we open up on the small town. It's got a on-ramp to nowhere.
So
Go ahead.
You wrote in here about the miniature train intro being super cool, and like I actually saw that before I watched the movie.
Oh, nice.
And as I'm watching it, and I realized it still took me a second. I was like, oh, that's a miniature. I got it. And then as it pans into the town, and the town is still a miniature, I was like, okay, eventually this is going to turn into a real set, and I still didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Like, I still didn't see when it transitioned. That was really cool. Like, when the guy is in front of it moving, I'm like, oh shit, I missed it.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good with the detail.
And I think that was something I tried to keep in mind throughout the movie, and sometimes you forget that they do introduce it as a play.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like it's something to consider. Like, at a certain point you get lost in it and you're just watching a movie, but you're actually watching a movie of a play, maybe.
Yeah.
A movie about filming of a play.
Yeah, it gets a little convoluted. I'm not 100% sure, and they also convolute it further by later on having it starts to blend what's movie and what's play, but it definitely has like very strong like ties to being a play instead of being a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can really tell in the way like things are shot, which is great. Like when it's being shot like it's a play, like a small little set, and then they're rehearsing a play in the play. It's
and I've always thought Wes Anderson's movies are kind of shot like a play. Like it's very like, this is the frame we're looking at. Things are going to move within the frame, but you're going to stay still. So I think that worked out really well for his aesthetic. So Jason
Yeah.
Schwartzman's character Augie and their family gets towed into this little town that we see has a one-stall gas station. It's got a diner. It's got a motel, and it has a freeway on-ramp to nowhere with a sign that says like road closed, like building error or something like that, road construction error, which was a nice touch.
Road closed indefinitely. Yeah.
And then they have the Crater, which is like the local spot, which we're introduced to with a billboard that says it was here, circa 5,000 years ago. And there's this little gate that leads you right to the start of the Crater, like a single file gate. Just the little touches like that were so fun and whimsical.
Yeah.
Which
even that part looks like you're looking over a model of a city.
Yeah.
Which it honestly probably was.
Yeah.
For some of those shots, like the asteroid shot. It was probably a miniature.
And maybe this is recency bias, but I was watching the Wonka trailer, and I thought, why did they not get Wes Anderson to do that movie? That would have been so much cooler looking. Like, it looks fine, but, that would have been an interesting choice.
Yeah. That's kind of an example of a director who you say it's, what's his name? Starts with there's a B in there.
Interesting.
The guy who's in love with Johnny Depp.
Ebenezer.
Who shot the Willy and the new Willy Wonka.
With a B that's in love with, I don't know.
I don't know if it starts with a B. Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, Burton.
Burton, yeah. Tim Burton. It's another one. You can kind of be like, it's a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, he could do that. I mean, he didn't do this one. He did. Didn't he do one? Didn't he do the Johnny Depp Wonka?
That's what I'm talking about. Sorry, not Burton.
I thought you were talking about Timothy
No,
Chalamet.
you made me think. No.
Oh, yeah, there's
another
with
Willy Wonka. I forgot there's another Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet. And guess who plays an Oompa Loompa? The Oompa Loompa.
No idea.
Hugh Grant. Yep. Exactly.
There's only one Oompa Loompa.
That we've seen in the trailer.
Well, they
Hugh
just
Grant.
copy-paste
Oh.
him.
Well, not yet.
I'm sure.
Not yet. I mean, not that we've seen. How about that? But yeah, so
I don't like that.
Jason Schwartzman's family shows up. His name is Augie, and he has a kid, Woodrow, and then 3 very Cosmo names that are said like 3 times, and I forget them. But they're fun. And
I thought they were all the names of...
Constellations. Cassiopeia was in
Yes. No, moons.
there. Oh, you're right.
Aren't those moons? Yeah.
Yeah,
they
you're
were all
right.
moons.
nerds. So those 3 show up. And they get out of the car and they go into a diner, and then there's nuclear bomb testing happening near them, and like they kind of like look for a minute, and everybody else just kind of acts like that's normal. And I thought that was interesting on the second watch, because what we're going to find out, it's like nothing amazes these people, or like they're kind of like lost in the sauce, like they're just doing whatever. And the funny thing I thought was maybe this was filmed right next to Oppenheimer, and like we're just seeing like the side story of what happened near Oppenheimer's area. So they go in, and we meet a famous person named Midge, who is a famous actor played by Scarlett Johansson, who has a daughter who is there for the same event that Woodrow is there for, which is a stargazer space cadet, basically like a science fair for really smart kids. And Jason Schwartzman is towed there by a tow truck. He finds out his car's not working. We try to fix it. It doesn't work. It does a whimsical little, your carburetor's on fire, and like jumping around like a snake. And it's a problem we've never seen before, which was a funny little line.
That scene was, I think, a good example if I wanted to explain to someone what Wes Anderson dialogue was like. I can't think of anyone else who does something quite like that, and it's where it can get annoying or it can be really funny.
Yeah.
And this scene, he introduced it. And he's like, I've seen this set of symptoms exactly twice before.
Yeah.
Once the fix was a 75-cent part. The other time, the car, like, it was a lengthy yada yada process. We had to tear and put it together. It didn't work. The engine exploded.
Yeah.
And he's like, which one is this? And he's like, we're about to find out. And at that point, I'm still not quite on board.
The very dramatic, like...
Yeah, when he takes out the piece and twists it, that's when I started laughing. And I was like, all right, I'm in. Like, that's good again.
Yeah, it's a good little, like, this is what you're here for. Get ready kind of moment. Because Jeffrey Wright later on, when he introduces the Stargazers, I think is another one of those moments where he has a long monologue with a lot of little cool movements and motions, and like as a watching an actor, it's really cool to see them pull that off in one take, which is wild.
Yeah, and it's just like surreal. Like you're like, no one talks like this. It's obnoxious, but it's fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. I noticed there was like a ticking noise or some sort of a like beat almost the whole movie. You could hear it underneath. There was like a fan going in that situation. There was a whistle later on. There was actual like bells playing from the soundtrack. It felt like there was a rhythm to this whole movie.
Yeah,
which you
definitely
feel
with
the
the speech you were talking about. There's the mysterious clock in the background that just ticks every second.
Yeah. And there's like people tapping their foot, and the kids at the end of the movie, near the end when Steve Carell's explaining that they're renaming the town, the kid's like holding his change and doing it rhythmically like this, and it matches the beat. It's really cool. Like there's like this flow that this movie takes you down. It's like a river. Like you're kind of just on it the whole time, which I think will lead to my case for what it's about and why Jake will hate it even more. So a lot of people are introduced. We see a lot of the cadet families. So there is the Chos, who are living in a tent because the thing blew up. Like, it's such a little thing, but such a nice way to introduce it. Like, Steve Carell checks them in. He's like, oh, we were doing some maintenance, and the thing burned down. You're in a tent. It's more of a flap, not a door. Like very customer servicey, which was fun.
It's like, here's the key. Though you don't have a door, it's a flap.
Yeah. A tent flap. And his kid makes a, like, hover situation, and he's also like very staunchly newspaper type of person. So that's this person. Liev Schreiber's kid makes a death ray and constantly asks if we want to dare him to do something because it's an experiment. That comes up a lot, which is a fun little line. And then we have a Girl Scout played by the girl from It. And what else was she in recently? Something else. But yeah, she's the girl from It. She makes a... Oh, God, what did she make? Something. She made something fun. And she's like a huge fan of Midge. Like, everybody seems to be. The guys especially. Like, every time someone mentions Midge as one of the guys, they're all like, oh. And then we have Woodrow, who made a machine that'll, like, transpose an image onto the moon from Earth. And he's like, this can be already used for, like, interstellar advertising, which is a really funny line.
Yes, so there were at this point there were two things that I thought were kind of interesting. One, you know that it's like they're all that the kid is already super smart, like big time nerd, but outside of being a little bit of a caricature, he just seems like this real brainiac kid. It's not until they start talking about the inventions that you're like, oh, okay, these are like, literally superhuman, super genius kids. Like they're, like, and then also it's funny because even among them, all of the other three inventions, was the other one like a teleportation?
No, I thought his was going to be teleportation. That might be why when he had the little circle with the thing in the middle, I assumed it was going to be like a teleportation, but it wasn't. But
anyway, so all of the inventions were, just crazy, impossible, impressive things.
Oh, girl invented accelerated plant growth.
That was Midge's
that's
daughter.
Right.
Using, like, cosmic energy.
That was Midge's daughter. Not the girl.
Okay. Yeah. And the Girl Scout had another. There was another one.
Oh, she did. She invented element.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
a little less flashy.
Okay.
Smorodonium or something they called it.
Yeah.
But out of all the 5 inventions, that what's his name? I can't even think of his nickname. Brainiac.
Woodrow.
What was his like nerd nickname that his mom gave him?
It said Brainiac.
Was it Brainiac?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Woodrow's invention out of all of them was, and it was revealed last, and it's kind of like, oh,
yeah, the least impressive.
Obviously, it's still, an impossible and impressive thing, but just compared to the others, and then again, it's that glib kind of humor, like, yeah, this will be really useful in interstellar advertising. It's like, oh, okay.
I also like how it's kind of foreshadowing Midge's daughter. I think Dia, something like that, something with a D. Her invention is literally helping things bloom. And we talk about Woodrow being a late bloomer, and I thought that was a nice little touch. They get together and kind of like become cutesy together. Like every Wes Anderson movie has like some 14-year-old nerd boy getting his first boner from a girl, and like this is this one.
Bit of wish fulfillment.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought it was very cool that was her invention, was like helping things bloom faster, and that's exactly what she like brought the best out of Woodrow when they were together. So Jason Schwartzman's character is calling his wife's dad, who is Tom Hanks, and we find out some things during this phone call that Woodrow is here for the Stargazer thing. We're gonna stay. We want Tom Hanks to come pick up the three girls, and we find out that Jason Schwartzman's wife, the girls, and the Woodrow's mom is dead, and Jason Schwartzman hasn't told them yet, and it's been like 3 weeks. So it's a bit strange, and I think that's part of the movie too, is like how to deal with grief and death and all that, and how do we move through life through these moments, right? And how do we feel them, and how do we not feel them, and how do we kind of conceal ourselves from the real world, which is where I think the chant at the end of the movie, the one, what do they say over and over and over?
How can you
can't
dream if you don't fall asleep?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
Can't wake up.
Yeah, so it's like you can't even start one thing if you don't accept another, is what I kind of took out of that. Like if, in a grief situation, if you don't accept the grief and kind of lean into it a bit, or feelings in general, it's going to be hard to move on or be the next day, or the next part of your life, which Augie, Jason Schwartzman's character, kind of embodies really well, and so does Midge, Scarlett Johansson's character. And there's a scene later where we'll jump into that more. So they all get settled in, and then they go to kind of an event for all of them, all the kids that are there for a ceremony.
Nerd camp.
Yeah, nerd camp. Yeah, ceremony where they get like a $5,000 scholarship, which is 1955, so it's a lot of money, and it's put on by the military and the research portion of the military. Jeffrey Wright's the commander or general or whatever rank you want to. They actually have him in this situation, and he gives a really fun speech, very, very Wes Anderson speech, where he comes up, a new microphone pops up, he goes left, goes right, bold microphone, comes back. It's so well done.
Like the strangest part of the movie up to that point. Mm-hmm. This was, I believe, before we saw the inventions. But
yeah,
it's getting I think it was. Yeah. The other thing that was funny is they make such a big deal about like the gag with the microphones, like because first he like steps up and he like takes a couple steps forward, and then some other guy he pops up with another, but then at a certain point he walks away from the microphone and he has no microphone, but there's no change in volume or acoustics or anything, so the microphone doesn't even matter.
Yep.
And then he goes back to it, and then, I don't know.
Also, someone pointed this out online that the main guy in the band, who like falls for Maya Hawke's character.
Yeah.
Montana.
Montana. You always hear him with spurs on, but he's never wearing spurs. Like you always hear spurs when he's walking, but he's never actually wearing them.
One of the closest spit takes is when they're all sitting there, and I realized that they had brought hay bales to sit on. They're all just sitting around. They just brought their own hay bales with them everywhere they go.
Who needs a chair? So yeah, they show off all their inventions, and then an alien comes down. Oh, sorry, it's a little later. Okay, so they show off their inventions. It's all cool, and then at midnight they all come back, and they're looking at these three dots, the three ellipses. Which are
in between now and then.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of plot, but it is like another favorite Wes Anderson thing is the scene of the barbecue where it's just going between all of these little like vignettes of the different groups of people talking and being just really weird.
Yeah.
kind of you said like talking side, like the parents are arguing about things, the teacher is like wrangling the kids and like really nervous. The smart kids are all talking, and I think they start playing that name game.
Yeah.
It's just like little groups of like it goes between them really fast. Like the camera's basically just like panning through the barbecue, and you're just like the sound is cutting in and out of each scene as it's like switches between the different groups of people interacting.
Technically, that would be
just
a
too
dolly.
fast to like keep anything either. Just like I can't remember everything that happened.
Be a dolly, not a pan. Pan is a pivot. Dolly is
You know, I would have.
I
would have guessed. I would have guessed a pan was like a lateral movement.
I know it is, but it's at a pivot point.
But he's saying it's it's a rotational.
Yep.
Lateral.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I would have called it a translation.
Yeah. I think that's a dolly. It's either a dolly or a track shot. I can't remember. But I took one film class in college, and the professor was really funny. He was like, first day, he goes, if you're here for an easy A, you hit the fucking jackpot. And then the third or fourth day, he was like, the good thing about film terms is they're all made up in America, so they're stupid, and they make sense for what they should be. So I'm pretty sure that one's dolly, but we'll find out in the comments if I'm wrong.
No, I believe you. We just call it the tool that it's being used to.
Crane shot, It's on a crane. Fucking hard.
Yep. Makes sense.
So we go at midnight now. We introduce Tilda Swinton's character, Dr. Hickenlooper, I believe is her name. And we find out that there are these three ellipses in the solar system that come together, and you can see them through this box. Otherwise, you'll burn them on your retinas. It's like a solar eclipse kind of thing. Like, don't look at the sun. Look through this box. So they all have these boxes on their head.
I desperately want to go back and listen to her speech. There's so many of these things where like it's meaningless. This is not like a deeper meaning. It's just hilarious what she said.
Yeah.
The scientific part that she said of like yada yada blah blah blah, and like this basically proves the theory of interstellar flirtation. I think she said.
Yes.
But the kicker is the math doesn't work out. It's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just just chuckling the entire movie, like every 15 seconds because of stuff like that, where there's no deeper meaning. It's just funny. Like
when Jeffrey Wright's doing, is that his name? I keep saying it, so I hope I'm right. Yeah. He's going through about science, and he goes, someone took 1 trillion and divided it by the circumference of the earth and then came up with this number, and we called it whatever. And it was just such a cool, like, I don't know. It's like
total nonsense.
Yeah, it's like poetic nonsense.
It was. That was like word jazz.
Which I think the rhythm helps. Like the background rhythm helps so much with that. Like you don't notice it. But like unless you're listening for it. And then you're like, oh shit, this is like, all right, I like this. It's a vibe. So they look up, and then this green light shows up next to these other lights. And an alien spaceship comes down. And they do it in the most Wes Anderson way. There's like claymation looking alien.
Yes,
sick.
For all of, because it started off like a play, clear miniatures. It transitioned into looking like a movie, but there's still like this comical, you can tell, oh, it's funny, wacky props, like when they're panning across and the people are in a tent. It's clearly a lot of like gag props that they used for the set, but the alien was another level. The alien was clearly this crazy cheap, low budget, like I'm talking like maybe in like the 60s, if they would have tried their hardest, this is the alien they would have come up with.
Yeah.
Which it's set in 1955. I do think that's what he was going for.
Yeah.
But that does beg, do you have an opinion? When that happened, when he pulled out, and I'm just like dying laughing, and Taylor was just like, but why does he do that? Like, why does Wes Anderson do that? It's like, if he would have just like had a guy in a costume like what we see Jeff Goldblum later, it would have still fit the vibe and it would have worked. It's like, why do this? And I was like, I honestly don't know, but I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's cooler for some reason. It just makes more sense to me in a Wes Anderson movie to have that than like a green screen with Jeff Goldblum going, oh.
But what's
for your stuff?
Here's the thing: if someone else did it, you'd roll your eyes.
100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, he's earned it. Wes has earned it.
Yeah. He's earned it by bullishly doing nothing but that.
100%. Yeah. At this point, it's an aesthetic.
Just keeps working.
It's like Picasso. Yeah. Like, Picasso's later days when you're like, it's all cubist, and I don't know if that's a face or not. Picasso could pull it off, all right? Or Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock can pull that off. Anybody else tries? What the fuck are you painting, bro? What are you doing?
Just trying to do a Wes Anderson.
Yeah, just fucking make it. And then, like, TikTok trend right now, everybody making Wes Anderson little movies that are so cool looking, but they do them kind of wrong. Yeah.
Well, most of them that I've seen are AI, right? Like.
Oh, those ones? Yeah. There's a new trend where people, like, real life do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll be like, a day at the spa, Wes Anderson style, and be like the same song over it, and it's just like they find one color palette and just like shoot it over and over and over. It's fun. It's a fun little thing. So, the beeps and boops that we see earlier is a date, and it's today, and that's the day the alien comes, and drops down.
Still up. No explanation for how.
Exactly.
Yes.
He just goes, maybe a date. Oh, we think it's a date, and then he goes, and then literally 5 seconds later, he's like, is it usually today? Yeah. And everyone's just like, there's no explanation.
Yeah, and they don't ask him either because it's this whole team of scientists have been studying this thing for years, and they don't know what it means. They don't even have a guess. This kid looks at it and goes, "Oh, it's a clock. It's counting down. Oh, is it always today's date?" So he can clearly read it. And they don't even ask him about it. They just like, oh, he can read it.
My explanation for why is going to piss you off.
Well, it's so the exact quote from the Tilda Swinton. He goes like, he says something about changing, and he goes, maybe a date. Mm-hmm. And then Tilda Swinton's character goes, so and so, have we looked at this? We think maybe it's a date. And then that's what she says. and then he says, is it always today? That's the next line.
It's like they give us the minimum we need to know to go forward in this story, and I love that part of it. I think that's why I like it so much. They're just giving us enough. Like, maybe that's not how it actually happened, because why would it? But it's fun to see it in that way. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need the all killer, no filler. Sum 41 said it best. Let's make it a thing. So we end Act 1. The space alien came down.
Don't sleep on the alien.
Yeah, the alien came down,
scene.
And just like meekly picks up. He's like everyone's
he poses
watching
for the picture.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
So he picks up the crater or the meteorite. It's a meteorite at this point because it's landed, right? So he picks up the meteorite.
Nerd.
The thing that they're all I took one astronomy class, and an astrology class, Pisces. So he has the meteorite,
Capricorn,
and he makes a pose, and Augie's a photographer. I don't know if you mentioned that. He takes a photo, and the alien then leaves like nothing happened, and we end the act, and we find out that everyone is under quarantine because of some rule from the president from 1955 that they read and then shred immediately, which is just so awesome and a fun way to do it. And
it's the classic Area 51. You know, you have to contain it. You have to deny that it ever happened. But now they have this problem where it's civilians that have seen it. So what are they going to do? They have to. It's going to be hard for them to contain because these people don't answer to the government.
The scene where they're going like past all the kids and their parents being like talked to, like the first group is the Dare guy and his dad, and they're getting like worked on medically, and the kid's like, do you dare me to push that button? And it says don't press button right above it. And then the next one is the girl from It who's the scout, and she's just going through like those, what are they called, Rorschach tests. And she's like, oh, it's an alien eating soup. That's an alien out at the pasture. That's an alien on a cow. It's like everything's an alien. And then they keep going. And it eventually kind of all boils down to them just stuck here together as a group in quarantine, which is like Nate, I don't know if he said this during recording or before, but like we kind of forgot what quarantine was like at the beginning. Like in this movie kind of brought it back. It was a very like interesting way to look at quarantine and more relatable now than it would have ever been, obviously.
Yeah, you kind of made me think like you mentioned that maybe that was worked into the plot after COVID and quarantine happened, because the scene of the playwright talking a little later and saying like that he wanted to show all these people like trapped together going through like a really unique and like raw emotional state. I kind of wonder if that's not just like Wes Anderson like talking about wanting to capture the quarantine.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think that's totally it. So they're under a military quarantine. The U.S. government has a plan to cover it all up. June is a teacher, Maya Hawke's character, trying to focus on anything but the aliens, and they can't. The day before, Augie and Midge, they're in adjoining or next door neighbors, basically, in this motel. Not adjoining, but next door. And they have conversations through the window, and it's really a cool way to do this kind of chat. And Midge is working on a new film, and Augie's taking photos. And he takes a photo of her the day before. And the next day, he also took the alien photo. And he's getting the photos ready, and Midge goes, how'd the photo turn out? And he shows the alien one. And he's like, oh, it's great. All my photos come out. And she goes, no, the one of me, which I thought was so good.
Yes.
The other one.
Well, I think it was the most obvious with her, and that was hilarious. Mm-hmm. But outside of the science kids, the military people, all of the people that are just there, like the ancillary people, they don't really care about the alien.
Yes.
Yeah, they're kind of... Yeah.
Yeah, and mostly they just feel like they're inconvenienced because now they're stuck there, and they just do not care one way or the other about the fact that an alien descended and grabbed this meteorite and then left.
It's something I started to feel at the end of the first watch and definitely felt throughout the second watch. It's a loss of wonder among everybody. Like, they're jaded, right? There's a nuclear bomb going off within vision of you, and you're like, oh, that's cool, I'll take a picture of it. Or there's 2 times a car chase with like 2 police cars and like guns firing go through this town, and they're just like, eh. And they see a goddamn alien, and they're like, eh. But the kid, I think
Woodrow does have a scene, where he's like, I feel like I'm going crazy.
Yeah. Woodrow's just
why
like,
are we talking about this?
Everything's changed. I have all these questions about like the wonderment of a child. You know, it's literally that we've all lost.
Yeah,
I think is what Wes Anderson's pointing out, is like this loss of wonder and curiosity. And I don't know if it's about, phones, technology, whatever. The fact that we can Google any answer and have it done in seconds. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like my loss of curiosity. And like I've, asked my friend groups, these guys included, more often lately, weird questions, I think. Like, what is the reason for having rings on an animal? Like, that show how old they are. Like, what is the point of that evolutionarily, right? Or like, if Spider-Man, if his powers are based on whether or not he'll be hurt, would he be able to shout?
Yes, the wonder of a child. Would Spider-Man's spidey sense tingle if he was about to shark?
Hey, I 100% believe a kid would ask that question. But I mean, that's what I'm thinking of, right? Is like this curiosity that I feel like I've lost that I'm trying to regain now. And
you know what,
that's
though?
a good idea.
One of the questions you asked was infinity a number?
Yeah.
And that has a yes or no answer, but I will say that got me thinking for literally days about how I would define a number.
Yeah, right? Isn't that something, like, I haven't done that in so long, and I remember doing that a lot as a kid. And like that idea of wonder and curiosity, I think, is something I'm trying to re-encapsulate by asking inane questions to my friends in Snapchat. Any way I can. So the funniest...
I will say from that whole Snapchat, for anyone who was following along, it's probably half the audience in that Snapchat group. But I fully support you asking questions in wonder.
Yeah.
I only get annoyed when I give you an answer and then you're like, but isn't that weird? And I'm like, no, I just explained it to you. It's not weird anymore.
You can explain it to me, but it's still weird, right? It's still like, okay, it's the rings on fish, right? There's some fish that if you cut into them, they have rings. And you're like, oh, it's because I switch the camera to use it so as I do this impression, they can look at your face. It's like, oh, well, when the seasons move and things change, it's like another layer. Like, you shed layers and they add layers, blah, 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 or whatever you said. Some dumb shit like that. And I was like, but why? Why do we have to be able to count them? Or did we just assign the counting and that's on us? Or like, and Nate's like, but that's just how it is. So like, who cares? And I'm like, no, but listen.
No. You said that. I explained how it happened, and then you were like, "But what's the purpose?"
Yes.
There's not a purpose.
Which, after watching this movie now, I feel like is okay. Because I think that's
It
the
is
point of the
okay.
movie.
It's not okay to keep saying why, though. You're like, we love the wonder of a child, and we don't love the why game that a kid asks.
We love
Those
the
can
wonder of
both
a
be
child.
true at the same time.
And
Just
sometimes
6
those
whys.
lines blur.
Yeah, it's about 3 to 6 whys, and then we're out.
Yeah.
So Jake, I will start to lean into my reasoning behind this movie. It's life. This movie is life. It's about not knowing where you're going, not knowing what you're doing, and you just go forward and you keep going every day. That's what this is about. That's why when you said, like, why do they not ask what the question? That's life. You know, like, honestly, every answer you can shrug off with "that's life," which sucks.
I was
I
gonna
know.
say you could throw that to any piece of art
Yeah.
ever.
But I think this one directly addresses it, and I think that's what the Wes Anderson was going for. Do I know that? I have no idea. That's what I got out of it from the second watch and about the last quarter of the first watch. Is like, this is just an allegory for life. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. We don't know why we're doing the things we're doing, but we get praise for the good things we do, and we get chastised for the bad things we do, and we just keep going along that path, kind of ping-ponging. And that's why there's this, like, rhythm to it, and we see people at different stages of their life, like the kids, the adults, the older adults, all acting differently because of the way that their life ping-ponged. And like
literally any movie ever.
Well, aren't all movies about life? I'll say one thing you immediately make me think of that I like noted in the general speech when his speech that he's like telling the story of his life, and he's describing it in chapters, and literally the start of chapter 1, and then he describes like his childhood, end of chapter 1, start of chapter 2, and he's like, my dad went to war, yada yada. Like, but he doesn't yada yada. He's like, this happens, and it's like he was wounded and comes back, and then he steps away from the microphone and goes, I had a life, I had a family, I had a dog, the standard stuff. And then he comes back and goes, chapter 3, another war.
Yeah.
And you're making me think of that, like how he's like telling the story of his life, and just like the normal stuff just kind of gets skipped over, and he's like, these are the interesting parts.
Yeah, the violence was interesting. Like, if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing with the military folks. They were like shooting like pictures of aliens. Yeah, that was so funny.
How did they make those up so fast?
I know, that was so funny.
It's a contingency plan.
Yeah, it's X, contingency plan X gray or whatever they said. So there's a very funny, awkward scene. Go ahead.
Oh, I think we passed it. That's why you reminded me talking about the pictures.
Yeah.
That means we were past the nude scene.
Ooh.
And I just loved the just another piece of like, because this movie is definitely, it's like we're watching a play, and a lot of it they do like talk about stage direction. Like you're saying at the beginning, they read the stage direction. There's a lot of like things that feel like behind the scene, like inside jokey kind of stuff that you get to like follow along with. So she does the nude scene, and she drops the towel, and it cuts to behind her, but there's a mirror and you can see her.
Yeah. And
then she immediately is like, we'll do it tasteful. Like, as I drop the towel, it'll cut to behind my legs. Like, immediately after that happens, she says that. And I thought that was hilarious.
The way that Augie responds to her. Okay, so that part made me laugh too. I forgot about that. Scarlett Johansson's like, hey, I have a nude scene. Do you want to see it? And then Augie just sits there in silence.
Yes.
And he goes,
and after a minute, he goes, did I say yes? She goes, you didn't say anything at all. I meant to say yes. I was thinking
it's so good.
Yeah. It was good.
Apparently Wes Anderson was really uncomfortable during that shoot, and Scarlett Johansson wasn't. So that's what I read too, and that makes complete sense to me as just what I've seen of Wes Anderson be like, ew, no, you know. But he did it. Made it work. Good for him.
it's like Quentin Tarantino and how he shies away from those feet scenes.
Oh yeah, dude. Get Margot Robbie's dirty
just
Barbie
like
feet out
that.
of my face. Yeah, if you didn't know, Quentin Tarantino always puts a foot scene in his movies in his mouth. Uma Thurman. Was his,
I was going to say,
and who will play that role? I will. Wouldn't it be funny to have a little director cameo here?
you have any socks? So the other very funny part comes up. ScarJo and the scout mom are talking at the outdoor communal shower, and the scout mom is saying, "I loved you in this movie," and she like ScarJo just keeps on, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," like while she's explaining it, and then the mom goes like, "I don't know why more people didn't like it." And she goes, "Oh, I mean, I did. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you." And then Bryan Cranston shows up, and he's been the narrator the whole time. We've only seen him in black and white, and he just kind of stands there, and Scarlett looks over at him. And he goes, "Oh, am I not in this scene?" And it just leaves as if it was a
He
mistake.
literally does.
It's so good. Like a community play mistake. It's so great.
Yeah, again, it's one of those throwbacks. Like, at least it happened with me. I would keep forgetting that it's a play and you're just watching the movie, but then they keep throwing things at you. Like, nope, this is a play that they're showing you on film.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was really. You're right.
That
They
was
kind
a
of like
spit-take
pluck
moment.
you. They like pluck you when you need to be. You know what I mean? Like, remember, none of this is real. Like, that's damn nice. So the Junior Stargazers get all this equipment together, and they have a plan to get the word out about the aliens. Cho is a writer, journalist for his school paper, and they released the story as well as pictures of the alien, which we find out Augie sends to his photo person like immediately. And then we cut to Act 3 1 week later, and there are just people everywhere with alien stuff and like partying and like Area 50 outside of Area 51 kind of vibes. And we open though. Oh, so let's go to the B story, the Edward Norton story. So Edward Norton's the writer. We first see him writing and struggling to write, which is cool. And then we see him and Jason Schwartzman's character as the actor, not as Augie, auditioning for Augie, kind of. And they have this moment of like being in love and becoming romantically involved through that story. And then we find out Edward Norton's trying to figure out how to make people sleep, like be asleep and awake and like visually like be in a sleep state. And
he says he wants to do a play scene of people sleeping, and he can't figure out how to like do it because the people would just be sleeping on the stage.
yeah, he wants them to. He doesn't want them to act like they're sleeping. He wants them to be asleep.
Right.
But then like so one they have to like fall asleep on stage, but then also not miss their cues.
Yeah, which is wild. So Willem Dafoe is the actor class teaching teacher. He's the teacher.
I think you got it.
And Adrian Brody is the director, and he shows up, and Edward Norton's there, and then a few of the cast members like Maya Hawke is out there, the guy who plays Montana's out there, Matt Dillon's out there, Jason Schwartzman's out there, so like Scarlett Johansson's out there, all as the actors that end up in this play. That's the start of Act 3. So we go back in, we're in the quarantine, and everybody's upset about, the military's upset about the story getting out, and there's a super funny scene where they're interrogating the kid, and somebody comes from off screen and brings Jeffrey Wright a note, and he says, "It's from the president," and he looks at it real quick and throws it. He's pissed. Like, what a great delivery and like line. That was so good. So they're fighting for the right to be able to do that, and then we hear the song from the kid in the band about the alien. That was one of Nate's favorite moments. They sing this jig, and then we see June and Montana kind of get together and dance off, and we're starting to see that kindling. So all these stories are kind of starting to run together, which is cool. And then Augie and Midge show up again, and we see Midge in a tub with a bunch of sleeping pills around her, which she says is how she's going to die. So at first I was like, oh shit, did she do it?
Yeah, that's what I thought she was, yeah, because you're right, like, it was in Act 2 or something when they were just having one of their window-to-window chats. She said, they were talking about how damaged they were.
Yeah.
And she said that, one day someone's going to find me just strewn out naked with the empty bottle of pills next to me.
Yep. And she's doing it for a scene. Her character does that, so she's like living in that, which I think is interesting because I think Wes Anderson. I think I read this somewhere that he based off like Marilyn Monroe and a couple other of those like 40s and 50s huge actresses that just lived this tortured life and went out that way. So I thought it was a nice little nod to that idea of like what was an actress like in the 50s and what were they limited to. And Scarlett Johansson does a really good job. She keeps saying I'm a very funny comedian and like nobody knows, and they just put me as this girl in distress and naked and all that, and yeah. So they have that moment, and then Augie reads he's her scene partner as she's practicing, and there's emotion that he needs to feel, and he finally feels it, and he like runs in with it and feels the emotion. This is, I think, the first time we see him feel anything. We start to see it start to happen a couple more times after that.
Well, even because it struck me earlier when you were talking about just like the lack of emotion on things, and then with the lack of wonder. Even when he takes those pictures, he doesn't take the picture of the atom bomb because he thinks it's amazing. He doesn't take a picture of the alien because it's wondrous and a miracle. He does it because he's a photographer.
Yeah,
it's what you do, So it's just automatic. Like, oh, I'm a photographer, Damn. But it's there's none of his own wonderment in those pictures that he's taking.
That's really good. Yeah, I have that similar problem.
Love that. Oh, good.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like I need to monetize any hobby I come up with. You know what I mean? Like in this culture of like side hustle and make
grind culture.
Yeah, like every hobby, I was like, one of the first things I think of is like, how can I sell this to people? And I'm like, that's such a toxic thought process to put on everything. So that stood out to me, that moment, and that's a really good point by you, Jake. All right, Nate.
You capitalist swine.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right, Nate, what were you gonna say?
Oh, just that I'd say that I think that was my favorite delivery of that was when Woodrow was freaking out and he like turns to his dad and he's like, "You took a picture of the alien," and he just went, "I'm a photographer."
Yeah.
So that was his reply to that. Like,
it's my job.
Yeah.
This is what I do. So we find out Augie and Midge fucked. Nice. And Midge's daughter saw them.
It's funny that you said it because as I'm looking at this document, which says Augie and Midge had relations.
Yeah.
I was like, had relations?
Yeah, I was.
What are you filling out a court document?
Well, I take the notes on the first watch through, and I was very into like 1950s, like beg your pardon and like all that stuff. Like it just got stuck in my head.
Augie and Midge had relations.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, like, how would someone with a
extra?
How would they write about that?
A sordid affair revealed.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of shit. So the quarantine's making everybody go crazy. Oh, sorry. They had relations. Augie finds out and burns his hand on the hot griddle thing, like a stovetop.
Like a hot plate.
Yeah, like a hot plate. And we flashback in our heads, because this actually happened earlier, to the scene where him and Edward Norton had relations. And he asked him, why does he burn his hand on the hot plate? And Edward Norton went, I don't really know. And Augie goes, the guy who plays Augie goes, I think it's because he wanted to know why his heart was beating so fast. And I was like, oh, that's all right. That's good. And then you see that. And then Edward Norton says, I should have him say that. And he's like, nah, that's stupid. But then he has him say it. And then we see it later. So it's like he could kind of sneak that in still. It was really, it was a really cool way to do it.
That happened again.
Yes.
And but when they were saying, oh, you should have her say the line after she shut. But that didn't happen.
I think it was cut. Because remember they talk about stuff being cut? I think it was with his wife. I think it was Margot Robbie that was supposed to say that, not Midge, right? Or was it Midge?
They say she, and I wasn't sure because we do know there was a scene that was cut, but it doesn't sound like the scene where she would be walking through a door. And then, of course, they do immediately do it as well. When they do
she did it. Yeah, she did it when she proposed. You should have her say the line after she shuts the door and leaves, and then she says her last line after she shuts the door and leaves. Yeah. So then all the rest of the movie, I was keeping an eye out for when they, because I assumed it would be Midge.
They even she says scene. She says like scene 5, act 3 too.
Yes.
And as soon as it cut away, I was like, shit! I forgot the number of the scene. Now I can't look out for it.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure it didn't happen.
Same.
Yeah, and I really love, like, I don't think this is I don't associate it with a Wes Anderson thing. I think it's this movie specifically. Like all of those call outs. Like you said, like we hear about the burning the hand and then we see it. It was such a fun way to like set up so many things that you get payoff on.
Yeah.
I also thought in that scene, because there's like this blurred line with the play, when he burns his hand and then she like showed it to me, he lifts it up and Midge says like, holy shit, that actually happened. And I was like, did that happen like outside of the play?
I think
like,
so.
Did he really burn his hand or something?
I think that's exactly what happened, is that he actually did it. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. So the quarantine, so they all get gathered down into the crater again. And they find out that quarantine's about to be lifted, and then guess who shows up? Mr. Alien flies above them, drops the crater back into the meteorite, takes off, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna have to go into quarantine again. And then everybody just starts shooting shit and fighting and like blowing shit up. It's so perfect. Just like everyone's sick of it. We're done. I'm not doing this anymore. Very like, remember that.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. That feels like the second quarantine.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then the general immediately just looks at the asteroid or the meteorite and it had been marked.
Yes.
And he's like, they inventoried it. And it's never touched on again, so you assume that is what happened. So the alien comes down, he gets this meteorite, causes this whole thing, and literally they're just cataloging it and then he put it back.
Maybe.
So even that was mundane. It was mundane to the aliens.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So to the alien it was nothing.
Yeah.
They're just cataloging.
Damn,
Yeah.
right.
Imagine us going to some less intelligent species and just like collecting something. And we're like, oh, we got to put it back. We can't disturb the...
We do that with animals all the time. Like tag them. And
that's what I mean.
We
That's
do.
what I mean.
Yeah, we tag an animal and then put it back and...
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. So they're having this moment. Augie's trying to figure out what's happening, and he kind of breaks character, literally. And he runs out of the play. And we see Bryan Cranston in black and white. He goes, "What are you doing here?" Kind of a callback to earlier. And he runs through and talks to the director, and the director tells him the kind of explanation I gave for what life is. You just kind of keep going, and people give you hoorays for doing
just kind of smearing bullshit. Yeah. One of those.
Yeah, exactly. Something like a middle manager would say after you had a hard day at work. You'd be like, we just come in every day, and we feel better about it. And then he goes outside.
I think it's better than that. I think don't balk at that. Like he was like, what's the answer though? And he was like, you don't know, but you're doing just fine. Just keep doing it. That's what he says basically.
That felt very reassuring about life.
He says you're doing fine.
Yeah.
And keep doing it. He said you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And like he actually knows in this context of the play. He's the director. He's like, you're doing what I want you to do as the actor. You don't have to know what the meaning of the play is. You're playing it right.
And they can't know the meaning because we find out that the writer died 6 months into the show. So now we know that possibly Augie's actor character is dealing with this death, and he's taking it because he said he was taking it personally when he's talking to Adrian Brody, the director. He's like, I just feel this. I feel it. I feel everything about this, and I think that might have been part of it. He's not reconciling with that because he can't. Probably in the 50s, you can't be out and talk about it. So he goes outside. He says he's going to get a breath of fresh air, and the director says, "You won't find any." And I thought that was a really cool line. Like, it really stuck with me. And he goes outside, and we see Margot Robbie, who was who was the picture of his wife. We'd never see her other than a picture. And they have a really long conversation about a scene that was cut. And then Augie kind of feels back on his horse, I guess, and goes back.
You could almost take that as when he says, like, he needs a breath of fresh air. He just needs to, like, get out of the show. And he says he won't find it. And he literally walks into another part of the show.
Yeah.
Like, they go out there and act out a scene from the play that, like, we're still watching. That's
very true. Yeah, good point. Yeah, you can't escape this moment. Yeah. Interesting. You have to lean into it. Just keep swimming. That's what I wrote about this movie. Just keep swimming. So he comes back inside, and then we switch back to previous times where the writer is trying to figure out how to do the sleep scene, and we see the people that are in the movie start to wake up, and in a spotlight you see them say, you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. And they start chanting it, and everyone's chanting it. And then the alien walks through with the meteorite and kind of walks right into camera. And then it cuts to epilogue. And then we're back in the city, and the quarantine's lifted. And the only one left is the family of Jason Schwartzman. So Augie, Tom Hanks, Woodrow, and the three girls. And first they try to like dig up
who are triplets in real life.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's fucking sick.
It's two identical twins, and then one, like, just triplet, but not an identical triplet.
It's wild. I didn't know you could do that.
So we haven't touched on because it's not important to the plot, but those three girls were awesome. All
oh my god!
I agree. They were hilarious. I think
vampire.
I think if you look back, probably my top 3 laughs were just them being witches
I'm a fairy.
If you torture us, we'll sacrifice you.
Yeah, that was so good.
What can I do, you little
They were going at 100.
We're not a princess. I'm a werewolf. I'm a witch.
I'm half alien.
I'm a
They
fairy.
cracked me up.
That was so good.
Yeah.
So Augie wakes up and sees Steve Carell, and he explains, hey, everybody got checked out. The president said we're good. Woodrow won the scholarship, and he has a girlfriend now, Midge's daughter. Augie gets Midge's address, which is a P.O. box, so, about as close as she's going to let anyone get. And that's the movie. I thought it was really fun, and I would love for anyone who even thinks they like Wes Anderson to go see it. I really liked it.
I would tell almost anyone to go see this movie.
Yeah, I'm close to it.
Yeah. Maybe some older family members might not be into it, but there's a lot. Like we probably only covered like half the movie in terms of it's a million miles a minute. Like it's kind of exhausting, but it's so funny.
Yes.
And it also has deeper stuff in it that's enjoyable and makes me want to go back and watch it again.
Before I watched this movie, I had a coworker watch this movie, and I bet she's in her mid-40s, and she's like, oh, I saw Asteroid City, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch that. She's like, it was awful. I didn't get it at all. So,
damn.
That's I pray to God that I'll still want to watch weird shit like this when I'm 60. But that's what I picture. Like there are old people who will love this movie. I could picture certain people exactly that. I didn't get it. It's dumb. That's what I think. I know people I wouldn't recommend it to, but
even us who watch movies a lot, walked out of it going, I don't know what I'm supposed to think, but that made us think more rather than just like dismiss it, which I think is it's a tough thing to learn watching movies because you're so spoon fed and everything else. To have something more open ended is tough. I get that. What drink would you pair with this movie? I put a root beer float.
Ooh, that's a good, like a 50s diner root beer float. I like that.
Yeah.
With sarsaparilla in it.
Sarsaparilla. Yeah. Do you have to mix the
good.
soda water? Yeah. Yeah, it felt very of the time. So yeah, that was. Anybody have any final thoughts on Asteroid City before we move on?
I don't.
I'd say so many. Things keep popping in my head that we just miss, but you could do that forever, and I don't remember it well enough. Because it's so fast.
Every scene in this movie was dense with little quips. With and not
visual
just
gags too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
uncommented on.
Yeah, it was not just dialogue. It was the props. It was the background. The vending machines.
Yeah.
It feels orange.
So good.
Oh, so good.
And one thing I was gonna ask about so they're playing the name game, and then when they're doing it later, and the list has gotten huge, and we don't even know how big the list is. But they're beeping or something.
Out. They say out.
She's saying out. They just made up another rule that we never get to hear.
I think it's once people are out, they don't get to say another one. So she's saying their spot still, out, this. It's in the same kind of sequence, and then it goes lower, and I think she's going backwards. because she's going out, and
Not
then
the,
it goes only
not
out
that
once
time,
the
'cause
next
she
time.
said I have to restart. She said I have to restart, and she started back at Cleopatra.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think that's what they were doing, is like saying when someone, like, you have to say every person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
It's good shit.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on the name game. Oh, there's so many.
Go
so
see
many
it.
Things.
Go see it. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good time. And I think if you listen to this, you're not spoiled. Like, I don't think you could spoil this movie.
I
You know what I mean?
agree. I think the story is irrelevant.
Yeah. It's fun. It keeps you interested. It does its job, but experiencing it is something different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more about experiencing it, about the visuals, about the and even
It's
just
always about the characters for Wes Anderson too.
Yeah, I was gonna say we like I can tell you what about the window scene between Midge and Augie, but it's it doesn't matter what they said. What matters is seeing it and experiencing it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, that was Asteroid City. We're going to move on now to our game. This week it's called I Can Do Anything Better Than You. I give you a number of hints for a movie or TV show. Each hint gives more away. You bid on how few you can do it in. So if you say I can do it in 2, Nate would have to say 1 or guess it. So I'll tell you how many hints there are total. You start bidding back and forth, and then you try to get the other person to not be able to get it. If you win the bid and you get all the points for however many hints you didn't need, so if you bid 2, you get 5 points if there's 7. If you get it wrong, the opponent gets a guess for half the points with 1 more hint. So if there's 3 left, they get 1 more hint. They only get 1 point if they get that one right.
You should get a base point for getting it right anyways, because if I say 7
Yes.
and there's 7 hints,
100%.
then I should still get a point.
It will round up, including 0 to 1. Okay. Nate, did you win the last game?
No.
So Nate's going to go first.
I'm not ready to lose again.
This
is
one-
happening.
This has 7 hints. Go ahead, Nate. How many do you need?
4.
Jake?
Jake's too much of a coward to go lower than that on the first one.
I'll do 3.
Nate?
Go for it.
3. All right, Jake, here you go. This TV show ran from 2009 to 2015. That's the first hint.
Okay.
Second hint, the 88 wrote and performed the theme song for this show.
Okay.
Third hint, the last season was online only.
2009 to 2015.
Yep.
I'm going to say... I'll say... what's that show with the rich people that I always hate? The Money in the Banana Stand?
Oh, Arrested Development?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Arrested Development. It is not.
Okay.
So, Nate, you get 1 more hint, and you can win up to 2 points.
There.
John Oliver was on the show.
Yeah, I already knew it was Community.
Yeah. Nate gets 2 points for that one. Nice job.
Oh, that's right. That was
Yep.
online only.
It was
Okay.
Yahoo.
Hulu only, and they killed it.
It was Yahoo.
Oh, Yahoo.
Even
yeah,
worse.
yeah.
Yeah, even worse.
I didn't watch
Joe McHale likes to
Community
say that.
until maybe the late 20-aughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, wait, is it aughts? The 20 teens?
Well, I think the aughts are 0 to 9.
Yeah.
Or 10,
So,
and then
yeah.
the teens would be 11 to 19.
so the late 20 teens is when I watched it. So when I watched it, it was already all done.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
And on Netflix, probably.
It's coming back for a movie with Donald Glover.
Terrible timing with the writer strikes.
Yeah, that sucks. All right, so the other hints were focuses on a school created by Dan Harmon, stars Joel McHale, Danny Pudi, Donald Glover, Chevy Chase, Gillian Jacobs, Allison Brie, and Yvette Nicole Brown. Nice job. Nate, you have 2 points. Do you want to bid first, or do you want to have Jake bid first?
Jake can bid first.
Okay.
Bitch.
Five hints for this one.
5?
5 hints.
4.
4?
2.
2. Go for it.
I'm passing.
All right. 2 hints for Nate. This movie came out in 2006. The film itself takes place in 2012. Those are your 2 hints. Jake can get 1 point if you do not get this right.
Feels too recent. I don't know if I can think of anything else, though. The Day After Tomorrow?
That's incorrect. All right, Jake.
All right.
Your next hint focuses on a therapist.
Don't I get 2 more hints because I said 4?
No, you get one more than Nate said.
Focuses on a therapist.
Why I went 2.
I don't got it.
All right. The fourth hint is it's animated.
Oh, god damn it.
What is it?
Paprika.
Yep. Nate still has 2, Jake has 0.
I had
Yeah,
no
that was
idea when
Paprika.
that movie. I had
Oh,
no
that
idea
was
when that movie
06?
took place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so 2006 it came out. 2012 is it said when it took place. I couldn't tell you either. I just thought that was a fun, stupid hint to throw in there.
Leave it to the Japanese to be like, in 6 years we'll have this technology.
They did.
Who's to say they don't? We're just asleep.
Yeah, dude. This is all that technology. Okay.
COVID, what are you talking about? Wake up.
You can't wake up if you never went to sleep. You can't wake up. Okay.
Oh god.
All right, Jake. You want to bid first or not?
I'll bid first.
Okay. This is 6 hints.
3.
Nate.
Go for it.
All right, first hint. This show started in 2019 and is still running.
Okay.
Second hint. Based on a concept developed by Bruce Lee.
Oh, I know it, but I want to hear the third hint.
Takes place during the Tong Wars.
That would be Warrior.
Correct. The other 3, I'd never seen the show, so I hope I got these right.
Oh, I love.
I know. I need to start
I've
watching
raved about that show on this podcast a number of times. What are the other hints?
I need to start watching it. Focuses on a martial arts prodigy. It's been on 2 different networks and returns to HBO Max for season 3 after a hiatus. Nailed it. 3 points for Jake. Well done.
I feel like I should have went under just to cut your potential points in half. There's no way I was getting that.
Well, Nate, you're currently losing, so you get to go first on this one. You want to?
3 to 2, right?
It is. Do you want to bid first, or do you want to let Jake bid?
I'll bid.
It is 9 hints.
Hey-oh. Man. I'm trying to figure you out, Ben. 4.
4 to Jake. Can you go 3?
How many questions are left?
Not including this one, 3.
Okay.
We got
I'll
time.
do 3.
Okay.
Yeah, you go for it.
All right. First hint. This TV show premiered in
Take my half points.
2023.
Okay.
Second, its co-stars were in another show together.
Okay.
And the third, only 2 characters are in every episode. No penalty for guessing.
2023.
Mm-hmm.
Co-stars were in another show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait.
You got this.
The Dance of Dragons.
Very close, but no. Nate,
That's what I like to hear.
your next hint and your last one. This is for you can take up to 3 points. It was recently nominated for 24 Primetime Emmys.
Damn it. Doesn't help me. You're very close. I feel like should help me more, but I can't think of something else.
Nope. Nate, I'm going to need a guess.
I feel like based on that, it's the Lord of the Rings show, but I don't... Oh, wait. Ring of Power. I'll guess Ring of Power.
That is also incorrect.
Damn it.
The next hint was original cast members have been seen on the show in different and same roles. The original creator also created the show. The characters are running from the world itself. It's based on a game.
Is this the Witcher prequel?
Pedro Pascal is in it.
Oh shit! The Last of Us.
Yep. It was
Oh
The Last
yeah,
of
yeah,
Us.
yeah, you're right. Only two characters.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last of Us.
The
Tough one.
I was confident it wasn't Rings of Power because I'm pretty sure Rings of Power did like all relative newcomers.
Yeah. I don't think there were anybody in there. Some of
Yeah,
the
it's
original
the only thing I could think that was close.
the original voice actor of a couple of them are in it. Some as the same character, some is different.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
All right, Jake's still winning 3-2. Nate, would you like to bid first or second?
First.
It is 8 hints.
Four.
Okay.
Bastard.
Jake, can you go 3?
I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Nate gets 4 to win for 4 points. This movie is a sequel.
I think you made a mistake and you know it. This
We'll
movie
see.
is a sequel.
Yep. Second one. The movie released in 2023. Third one. This movie is animated. And then you get a fourth, right, Jake? He gets 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
A fan got to animate part of this movie.
Ah, there you go. I just want to make sure I say it right.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
You got it. 4 points for Nate on that one. The other hints
I
were...
don't know if I would have gotten that one.
The
with
last
3.
hint helped, yeah.
Yeah.
The other hints were Andy Samberg plays a voice in this movie. This movie
Yeah.
is in a multiverse. It's a Marvel character movie. I didn't know if it was an actual Marvel movie, so I didn't want to say that. But it's a Marvel character movie. And then there
Yeah,
are
I think
multiples.
it's still owned by Sony.
I think so too. There are multiples of the main character in this movie. Was the last one. All right,
Nice.
2 left. Jake is now in second place. It's 4 points to 3 points. Jake, would you like to bid first or second?
Wait, didn't I just earn 4
No.
points?
Yeah. He
I'm
just earned
sorry, you
4,
did.
so it's six
So
to
six
six
to
to
three.
3.
I wrote the number. You said.
I'll bid first.
First, there are 4 hints for this one.
We're just all over the place.
Yeah.
2.
I like
2.
keeping us guessing.
2.
Yep.
Nate?
1.
All right. Nate, your hint is eat the rich.
Succession.
Incorrect. Jake, the
Yeah.
second hint for one, you can get 1 point by getting this. The second hint is this is a movie.
Movie for Eat the Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Don't remember it.
I feel like there's 2 that you could
Yep.
answer this with pretty easily.
The,
It's just like trivia
Not-
for listeners
I'll
of this
I'll say
podcast.
Triangle of Sadness.
So close. All right, it was the menu. The next clue was Harry
Okay.
Potter's arch enemy is in this movie.
Oh, eat
Yeah.
the rich.
Eat the rich.
That's funny.
Ah.
You're
and
clever.
the last clue was just the word cheeseburger.
Okay.
This is a really good game, guys. I think we made it.
There's
You're a clever boy.
I have a I'll talk about it after the game.
Okay.
I think it just needs one adjustment.
We
many
both
points
have
you get?
rule critiques, but
Yeah.
the concept of the game is great.
Yes.
How many points
yeah.
you get? Yeah,
It's
okay.
too easy to game this game, but
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. All right. Nate, you're winning 6-3. If Jake gets this right with 1 hint, he wins. Is that fair?
No.
What? No, I'm
No.
tired of these. Just no. I've lost twice. Jake no longer gets a handicap.
Okay. Jake, how do you feel about that?
I think that's reasonable, but again, I'll tell you my scoring complaint after
Okay,
this
okay.
because
That's
yeah.
fair. Jake, you are in second place. It's 6-3, so you get to go first. There are 3 hints.
Oh, well, yeah. Then I can't.
Yeah, I
You
know.
can't win.
You can't win, so. You can just wait. If you guess the movie without any hints, I'll let you win.
All right, Jake, just play as you would play if you would have only gotten a 1-point penalty if you go second.
Well, I'll say 2 because I think I can get it in 2.
Okay.
I mean, I gotta say 1.
Okay. All right. Nate for 1. You get 2 points if you get this right. Our main character is a professor in this movie.
What movies have we reviewed this year? I feel like that's part of the theme. He was a professor.
I just said is a professor. You gendered professor.
Wow. Got a point.
I just want there to be no ifs and or buts about what the clue was.
Thank you.
In case it is a female professor. But it's a male professor.
Yeah. It's a professor. I can't think of anything.
Ooh.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah. You're getting close.
Yeah, that's fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, do you know
It's the whale.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The next clue is this movie takes place in a single location. And the third clue is might not want to eat while you watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed.
I know. You still won.
Not as ashamed as Brendan Fraser
Oof.
in The Whale.
Yes, as the character, whatever he played. All right, Jake, what's your change?
I don't know the solution. Here's
Okay.
the problem.
Points?
Nate had a lead of 3 points.
Yeah.
If there's only 3 rounds left, he could bid 1 clue on everything, cap me out at getting 1 point per round, and only getting 2 clues per round.
Maybe the point should be based on not how many hints there are, but like if you get it on the first try, or maybe make them all the same number of hints. But I think that takes away the bidding thing. You know what I mean?
The bidding thing is great. It's just because I just noticed that. That's why I asked how many questions were left at one point, because I'm like, if you get a little bit of a lead, you can force a stall.
True.
By forcing them to guess, and they'll only get 2 hints worth up to 1 point.
True.
For the rest of the game.
I think capping the points or dividing the points in half is too much.
Uh-huh.
And I think maybe you could just let them take their last bid.
Oh, okay.
So Jake says 3. If I say 2, he does have to say 1, or let me try 2, and then he gets the third hint. Or if I just go straight to 1. Honestly,
that
happened. Jake,
that happened in that one round though. I said 4, you said 2, you missed it, and then Ben gave me 1 more clue, and I'm like, I thought I'd go back up to 4.
Yeah, I think you go to whatever you bid, and then you just get points based on that.
That felt like too many things for me to remember, so I was like, let's just.
No, that's fair. I mean, dividing by half was hard, but
yeah,
it was too much. But I think the big thing,
dividing by half is doubling.
Shut up. I think if you let the loser take whatever they bid last, that's fair.
Yeah, for sure. If they remember, for sure.
And then they still limit their score based on that.
True.
And then they just get full points for whatever they.
But then is there less of an incentive for you to like jump a number like you did? Like go from 4 to 2.
Say Jake bids 4. Say I bid 6, and then Jake bids like 4. Mm-hmm. Do I want to bid 3? Or jump to if I jump to 2, then I score more points if I get it right.
Sure, yeah.
And you could make the loser also take a 1 point penalty potentially or something to make it hurt a little more.
Yeah.
But there's something there. It's a great structure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that game was a lot of fun.
Dope. We'll bring it back. New rules. Before we go, I would like to thank you all for listening.
I think you got to cut out that entire rule discussion.
Oh, no, that's staying in. That's fun.
That's not great listening.
Thanks for listening to our episode today. I'd like to thank my guests for joining us. Nate and Jake, as always, thanks for being here. If you are new here, you can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. If you do listen on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. And if you're watching, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on TikTok at Rum and Cinema on both. Now let's talk about what we'd recommend people to watch that isn't Asteroid City. Jake or Nate, which one wants to go first?
I'll mention, this has been mentioned as a recommendation before, but I just finished it. I just finished Ted Lasso, the series finale. Yeah, really, really good all the way through. It's definitely lighthearted. It's doesn't take itself seriously at all. But I think there's great characters, great moments. Definitely worth a watch.
Very fun.
And then I have to double check the name of this podcast.
Oh, a podcast.
Because
Oh, goose in the competition.
yeah, right. No, don't worry. We're not gonna. It's the Lord of the Rings Lorecast.
Ooh.
And the guy that does it,
Nerd.
he goes by Robots, but he does other lorecast too. So he does like a
nice.
Witcher
Using
lorecast, Elder Scrolls lorecast, and he's very in depth.
Yeah.
So it's if you follow one of the things that he does a lorecast about, then I think it's amazing. I think if you don't, like say you're not, I want an introduction to Lord of the Rings, I think this would be very heavy and hard to follow along. But and like I said, he does lorecasts on all sorts of topics. If you're a fan of one of those topics, check it out because he does a good job of the deep dives.
So it's kind of like I think a lot of people hit this wall with media. They're like, I've taken in everything that's been made by the person who made it. What's next? And this is one of those things that sounds like fills that very nicely.
Yeah.
Fans for fans' sake kind of thing. That's cool. Love it.
Chain recommendation. Jake, have you heard of In Deep Geek? The YouTube channel?
Yes. Yeah.
It reminds me of the exact same thing.
This is it. In Deep, I love In Deep Geek. I watched all of them, but In Deep Geek is much more what's the word? Just appealing to a mass audience than this. This is
God damn,
much
this
more
is
dense.
deeper. Oh
Yes.
my god. All right, I'm scared now.
This is like there's indices and appendixes and what's the little thing at the bottom? Citations.
Basically, he's going through the Silmarillion, like chapter by chapter, and then he does a podcast episode
Sick.
on every chapter.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that is deep. Like, for the record, Ben, In Deep Geek, I thought this was, he goes through the Silmarillion, but like he tells the whole, he gives you an overview of one of the stories.
Oh.
Whereas this guy is like reading it like the abridged version with notes, apparently.
Yeah. He's like,
Essentially it is more like a companion to this,
nice.
Wow.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, it's really cool stuff. It's like a perfect level for, I don't know, because there's like introductory to, whatever topic, and then there's more in-depth, and then this is like, I don't know, it's deep.
Yeah.
Deep into lore.
You can always
yeah.
go deeper.
That's sick. Wow. Thank you for the recommendation, Jake. Nate, what do you got?
So one thing recent that we started watching, Welcome to Chippendales, is great. Yeah, I don't know what else. Have you guys heard of it?
It's Kumail, right? Isn't he in that?
What's that?
Kumail Nanjiani, isn't he in that?
Yeah. It's Kumail Nanjiani. It's like the story of how Chippendales came into existence, and it's very interesting because Kumail Nanjiani is playing like the founder. It's not, and I assume that it's basically roughly a real story. Like it's at least the like broad strokes, and the guy is not who you would expect. He's like this straight-laced businessman who like emigrated from India and like owned a gas station and was like scraping pennies. Just he wanted to make money somehow, and so he opens this club and like keeps adjusting his strategy because it's not working and lands on Chippendales. And then like the madness, like it gets incredibly successful, and like there's all the craziness around like a strip club and like the first female, strip club for male strip club for women in existence, and this party life. And he's like this straight-laced guy who's like literally like charmed, like he falls in love with an accountant because she's so good at pinching pennies. It's really great, and it's like really compelling. We're like on the edge of our seat, even though it's not like a murder story or anything. But it's really interesting what's going to happen.
I feel like pinching pennies is a really good like unnamed sex move.
Very fair.
Just pinching pennies over here. Whoa.
I'm not into that.
Not yet. That's a really good one.
And then an old recommendation, also meta recommendation for Hulu. I didn't get Hulu for the longest time because I had a bad impression of it because I think I trash talked it. Like if you go back a couple years, because I didn't like that the premium versions had ads, which like there is a one that doesn't now that my stepdad is paying for. But like we've been watching everything on Hulu. Like we haven't picked up Netflix since they started enforcing the household thing. So I haven't watched anything on Netflix. Disney Plus kind of sucks.
Yep.
Like content wise, I'm watching the Secret Agent show, but begrudgingly right now. It sucks.
I gotta say, Disney Plus is like you get it 1 month a year. Watch what you want, get out.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. HBO is great, obviously, but they're so spaced out. So we've been like almost exclusively watching Hulu, like for our daily watch stuff. And it's all the old sitcoms. And my other recommendation, it's old, but Fresh Off the Boat. Is a really good that we wish we had known it existed because it was like 2015. And yeah, it's a story of like first generation Chinese family who live in California, and it's just really funny.
Nice.
Fish out of water kind of stuff. It's really fun.
That's awesome.
Also, the theme song is a banger.
Hell yeah.
It's like 10 seconds long, and every single time I'm like, it's a rap song. Like the main character kid is into rap. Okay. And so it's just like, I don't even know who, but I'm sure it's actually like a famous rapper. They've had Dre on the show. They've had like someone associated with Beyonce, someone in there. They have a lot of like rap and hip hop people like make guest appearances because the main kid is into rap.
Nice.
So the main song is a rap song, and it's like, I'm fresh off the boat. So good.
That's awesome. I heard Abbott Elementary is good, and that's also on Hulu. I haven't.
Yeah, we've been watching that. That's incredible.
Good? Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
My recommendation. Thanks, Dave. My recommendation this week is popcorn movies. You know, I think we were talking before the podcast about someone Jake watched that kind of turned him off from this, like the fandom of this movie of Asteroid City. And I felt like I was that person for a long time. Like I only watched films, you know, I like snubbed all the other ones. I started watching Fast and the Furious and like all the Mission Impossibles now. And I'm going to do all the Transformers. Like, you know what? If you go into it knowing what you're going to get, it's fucking fun and it's a good time and enjoy it.
Like Marvel movies?
No. Oh, well, some of them. Yeah. But like, they're the same story and like, somehow Fast and the Furious doesn't feel like the same story yet. I think because it's like I'm in 8 only instead of 38.
Because there is no story.
No, there is. There is though.
Based on the podcast, like my favorite movie podcast, they did the most recent Fast and the Furious, and they go through and they're like, it's good and it's good and it's good, and now they like fucking hate it, like because it got samey at the like the last 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean
they're like it's good for a while in the middle there.
Yeah, it's fun. There's like fun like 65 just dropped on Netflix. It's an hour and a half long. Adam Driver walking through the forest trying to not get eaten by dinosaurs. Rad. If that's all you need, rad. It's very bad
that does
characters.
Look interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
I guess it's like when I saw that the Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and you said was it any good, and I'm like, if you want to go see robots beat the shit out of each other, pretty cool.
It's fucking sick. Yeah.
Yeah, like was it a fine film? No. Yeah. But it was cool.
Yeah.
Cool to see.
Exactly. Like they don't all need to be like in Bruges or Asteroid City. Like I really like
or Drive. Oh.
Still not gonna watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny though.
I
will. My wife loves those movies, so I'm gonna go see it.
I don't know if I will. I love Indiana Jones, but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh,
trash.
You know what's crazy? That's the only one I've seen all the way through that I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fair. They're pretty old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor and go back and watch the first 2.
Now that I'm in this, I'm going
go back and watch the first 2. We should do that. We should watch like the first 2 and do the podcast.
That'd be
honestly,
good. Yeah.
They're really good.
All right, we can do that.
But I'm not going to watch the 5th one.
Well, maybe. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening.
You're generally recommending watch popcorn movies, not a specific. Okay.
Yeah. Just have fun with your movie choices. You know. Thanks for listening. Enjoy your rum. Enjoy your cinema. We'll see you next time.